Good morning. Welcome to Exploring Economic Development with MEDC. My name is Meredith Harris, and I think we are here with a special Inside the Industry edition. Is that correct, Jill?
Yeah, so usually we stream on the first Wednesday of every month. It's not Wednesday.
It is Thursday.
Turns out it's Thursday. But it's special because we're doing it Inside the Industry. Now, we've done a number of these with different
Folks.
industries.
Yeah, different
if you
things.
will.
Yep.
So we've done the hospital, we've
Yep.
done manufacturing.
We did Cytiva,
Yep.
Quest. We've done a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But before we get started, we need to apologize for being a couple of minutes behind today. I think one of the first times we've ever experienced a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're not going to dwell on it. We're going to move on. Thank you all for your patience. We appreciate you waiting with us as we jump into episode 35.
Yeah.
So, any other administrative stuff? We got a shout out to
Yes.
WMCT.
Exactly. So we are live streaming right now to YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and our local cable access channel, WMCT TV, who have been crushing it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely doing an awesome job.
You guys have all been a little busy the past week.
Yeah, so this week was amazing, right?
Yeah.
This week we had graduation. So go Panthers, and also go all of our other schools. It's just I happen to be a Marlboro Panther, so I got to give a shout out. Panthers eat hawk meats always. But congratulations to all of our class of 2023 graduates. They've
Absolutely
overcome so much, gone through so much, and honestly, being in the high school with them, they're just so thrilled and optimistic about the future. I haven't met a class that has been this excited about life and all right, we're going to figure it out because they've had to.
Well, and they're going to be even more excited after they watch today's episode because it is directly geared towards that type of thinking.
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking today about entrepreneurship and innovation, and we have two really great guests with us today. We have both Christimara Garcia and Luiz Fernandes. So we'll jump. Pull them up. There we go. Pull them up. Pull them up.
Welcome.
Good morning, my friends. Good morning.
Good morning.
So today we're going to talk, it's kind of a really cool episode, talk about collaboration, innovation, entrepreneurship. But Christy is with the Entrepreneur Innovation Center
Yes,
at
that's correct.
Framingham State University. And we have Louis from Labaredas BBQ Brazilian Grill here in Marlboro. You were also a student at the Innovation Center?
I actually was one of the first, I was in the first class of graduating entrepreneurship focused. Let me take that back. I was one of the first people to graduate from Framingham State with a focus on entrepreneurship. And I was also one of the first interns at the Entrepreneurship Innovation Center.
Yeah.
This was, oh my gosh, this was a long time ago. It was probably
Don't date yourself.
8-9 years ago. It was a while ago. But I started out as an intern there when it was just one room in an office, and now it's in a separate building that's 4 floors, and it's very different than when I started.
Actually.
3 floors. I apologize.
So I'm gonna just shorten you to Labaredas because that is how I know your restaurant. It's one of the best restaurants in Marlboro. But so we really want to talk today kind of about the center. We want to talk about how you went through the center, what it means to you, what you've been able to do with it, because you are one of our top restaurants in Marlboro. We love you. We want you to continue being innovative with your entrepreneurship here. But before we dive into your story about how you got there, Christy, can you tell us a little bit, about yourself, because you have a really cool background, but also a little bit about the center and what you guys are doing over there?
Yes, sure. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Christimara Garcia. I'm Brazilian. I have been living in the U.S. since 2018. I have been in the innovation and entrepreneurship field for more than 15 years. I joined FSU this January, so I'm fresh new. I'm not the same time of Louis over there, but I am excited about this opportunity to recreate the center because the center unfortunately has been closed during the pandemic and after the a little bit. But since I joined, I'm installing the center. The center is we are creating a new mission for the center to be a innovation ecosystem hub for the Metro West area, and we host 2 type of services, I would say. We are co-working in an affordable co-working space for the Metro West entrepreneurs. We also provide many resources. We're going to talk a little about that.
Yeah.
And also we provide resource for the FSU students, the Framingham State University students, how they can leverage their entrepreneurship minor in terms how to launch their own business, how they can think about what the opportunities they can have when thinking about a new business or a new venture. So,
All right. So my first question, do you have to be a student to access the center?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No, you don't. You what we to be like a member of the center, we have a membership a program for the center. You need to be in the Metro West area or around Metro West. Just because we want to have you like with easily access to the center. We have a wonderful parking lot over there.
Yep.
And so you don't need to be a student. And of course, the students that are interested to start their own business, they have a free membership for 2 years.
Fabulous. Wow. That's wonderful. Okay, so where at Framingham State are you located? How do people find you if they want to become a member? How do they get involved?
Yes. We are outside of the campus, but we are very close to like 10 minutes walk from the campus.
Okay.
Usually I'm doing my walks to the campus, try to do some exercise. And we are located at 860 Worcester Road.
Yep.
And you can reach us out by the email of the center. That's innovation at Framingham. Oops.
That's okay. We'll link it. We'll
yes,
link it. It's all good.
Sorry.
And so how long has it been around?
The center was as Louis.
So 8-9 years ago, 10 years ago?
10 years ago. 10 years ago, yeah. The center was funded by two of our most fabulous professors of the Univeristy, the entrepreneurship area, Dr. Robert Cream and Dr. Erasmus Niguri. And both started the center thinking about how they could provide this kind of entrepreneurial experience for the students, but also how to support the local community to start their own business.
This is a great program.
Yes, and I'm super excited because my passion is how to apply innovation to promote socioeconomic development.
Yeah.
And I think the center has been this resource for the local community, like how to connect like the university, the entrepreneur, local entrepreneurs, the government, the funders.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of, when I call the center a hub, an innovation hub, is why? Like we want to promote this connection.
Right.
And Professor Crean is also an innovation author. And in his book, he created a theory that he calls like Bump and Connect.
Yep.
And that explains how Boston became like this innovation hub.
Yeah.
And some of the elements for this bump and connection is like promote networking, promote entrepreneurship, promote local demand or attend the local demand, and also connect with the investors.
Right.
And so the center
is a huge piece of it.
Yes, it's a huge piece. So the center is bringing this theory to life.
Okay,
when
that's great.
We want to bring this to the, and also how to translate this innovation a mindset that Boston is famous for to the Metro West area.
All right, so let me ask you.
We love that.
We do love that. We do love that. Okay, so I've been at MEDC about 8 years. Now I'm dating myself as well, but I've always kind of heard about you guys, didn't necessarily know a lot about what you were doing. Louis, how did you find out about them? How did you get started with these guys?
Dr. Krim was my professor.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so that's a pretty easy connection.
That's why I was laughing. I heard the words. I used to hear the words bump and connect every single day of my life for about a year. And so that's why I started laughing when Christy said it. I was studying. I was at Framingham State. I was doing my degree in management. Sorry, business administration is the more proper term. And Dr. Krim was my professor, and he goes, "Hey, we're launching this project, or we're launching this, minor next year, focusing on entrepreneurship. We have the center here." I said I was part of the first group. I was actually part of the second group, about one semester. But it was like me and two other people, right? It was just a tiny little room. I think there was like maybe 2 entrepreneurs that were using the space at the time, and so like I would clean the room a little bit, make sure there was coffee and things like that. But one of the things that was really interesting is that when I went to college, I didn't actually go to Framingham State off the bat. I went to Western New England University, and I thought at one point I wanted to be an engineer. Forgot you needed to do math for that, and that was
you're in a much more fun,
a little bit more fun day to day my life today. But then I ended up wanting to do entrepreneurship, but Framingham State didn't offer it at the time, and so I was kind of like, well, you know what, we'll do business. It is what it is, and it's closer to home.
Sure.
So then I started taking class with Dr. Krim, and he's like, oh, we're launching this program, entrepreneurship, and then he got me involved. I became an intern, and I'm sorry, I lost track of
That's
the question.
okay.
I
All right,
apologize.
that's okay.
It was how we got started.
You got started. You're at
yeah.
the center. Now, when you went into the center, did you know that you wanted to start a restaurant at some point, or was it just that you wanted to own your own business? Or
Definitely didn't think about a restaurant at the time.
No, okay, you were still engineering.
Not even that. I wasn't necessarily sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be my own. I wanted to have my own business at some point.
Sure.
And that's really where Dr. Krim was very fundamental for me, because I was actually given. He created a special program for me where I was allowed to not only, because I started off as an intern, and then I told him that I wanted to create my own business. And he goes, okay, well, what if we compromise? And he goes, instead of you being a intern, what if we made you a member of the center yourself in your senior year and you start your own business? So I got college credit for a capstone course where I created my own business.
That's super cool.
I started a company called Metro S Creative. I did marketing, graphic design, web design, social media marketing, video content creation, pretty much everything as a one-man team for about 3 years, maybe.
Is that about the time that I met you?
Shortly before. So I did that shortly before I met you.
So when we first met, Louis was really just interested, wanted to bring a restaurant to Marlboro, and he was so jazzed about Marlboro, which made me so jazzed about him. And like, just the idea of like, what can we do? And you had different ideas back then. And what you've ended up bringing to our city is just such an asset to our community. It's such a great restaurant. We were talking earlier with Christy. You're a fan of Labaredas.
I'm a fan. My kids are fans.
Huge fans. But just the idea, and I'm gonna give it back to you for a minute, because you were talking about how incredibly innovative your concept is as a patron of the restaurant.
Yes, and I'm glad to hear that you start that program with Dr. Krim, because we are still keeping that program. Now we have like a course that is the capstone.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
that's
it's
awesome.
a formal way to support our students to launch their own business. And I was telling Meredith before we start that, like, for me, your idea is very innovative, because to combine like the Brazilian food perfect taste with the American style service, it's very innovative. So it's not, sometimes people misunderstood the innovation concept, like, oh, you need to have a tech startup to be a innovator. But when you create this type of new concept, and I'm glad to refer your restaurant to many of my neighbors, American neighbors, because I know that they're gonna love the service, and at the same time that you have the experience to taste the best Brazilian food that I have ever here in the region. And I have to say that I'm a decent cooker, so.
That's a big compliment.
Are you hiring? Or
I mean, hey, we can have a conversation after this. This would be kind of good.
No, and
kids.
I think it's important. So sometimes it can be a little intimidating, right? If you're not familiar with the cuisine, you don't really know what to order, you're not sure what you're going to do. But honestly, when you go into your restaurant, it's not like that. And you come right out, you walk people through the menu. Hey, if you like this, you might like that. And you guys have just done a really cool thing over there. And we'll go a little bit even further. The cocktails, your bar, it's incredible. And a lot of innovation behind that as well, though. I mean, you took a space and really transformed it into something completely different. So can you bring us through a little bit of that? And you're always talking about what's the name of the alcohol from Brazil?
Cachaça.
Okay, there we go. See? But you do really cool things with it.
Well, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that and the thought process behind it.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, I'll just kind of pick up the thread of before. So, I started while I was running, Metro S Creative at the Innovation Center. I was bartending the whole time, putting myself through college. That's kind of what
awesome.
Got me through college.
Yeah.
I was doing it, even when I had my own company doing, graphic and website design, I would bartend 2 to 3 times a week. And it was really kind of what kept me, afloat, because as you're trying a new business, especially one that's so customer service centric and you're providing a service to people, it can be difficult, especially when you're starting out.
And it's volatile.
And let's not get started about volatility there. It's
every day is a new adventure, right?
Yeah, it ended up being why I ended up having to fold that. It just wasn't good on many levels. But I learned a lot. Anyway, so then
let's get back to the drinks, right?
Yeah, so then the more important stuff. And so the entire time I was bartending, and as I'm bartending every single week, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if there was a space that was reflective of who I am and the things that I want to do. I worked in a great cocktail bar in Framingham called Bourbon's Kitchen and Cocktails, and I learned so much there, and I loved working there, and there was so much incredible things happening there. And, you know, growing up in the Metro West region, I've literally, you know, grew up in Framingham, lived in Marlborough now for a really long time. And I never felt like there was a space that was exactly reflective of who I am as a Brazilian immigrant who grew up here, where, you know, there's still all of the stuff I love from my home country, my home culture, and also trying to bring it more into the space for everyone. And so, you know, I'd make cocktails and people would be like, oh, like, can you make me a cocktail that you want me to make? And I'd be like, well, I could, but we didn't have any cachaça at Bourbon's, right? It wasn't something that he cared. Not that he needed to. It was not his focus, right? And so I kept thinking to myself, man, it'd be really cool if there was a place that, you know, was innovative with cocktails that just happened to serve really good Brazilian food, because they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You know what I mean? It's just good drinks, good food, right? And so when I folded my, you know, marketing company, I was like, man, I want to open a restaurant. And I went to my mom and I was like, hey, I got a crazy idea, and this is kind of what I'm thinking. And shortly thereafter, I think is when I reached out to you and we started looking at different places here in Marlborough, and you helped us out a little bit, and then here you are. Here we are.
That's pretty awesome. So how long were you at the center? And then Christy, my follow-up question for you is, how long can someone be at the center? You know, are they there for a year, 6 months, 4 years? You know, how long can you be under your kind of umbrella over there?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to answer first, like how long did you stay at the center?
Yeah, so I was at the center, I started out my junior year. So my junior year, I was just an intern. My senior year, I was an intern for half of it. And then I created my own company for the other half of it. And then I actually stayed on with the center for another, I want to say, 1.5 years, almost 2 years past that point.
Okay.
I was there quite a lot.
That's great, though. Yeah.
As a student, we can like accept students from the sophomore year. They need to be at the sophomore year at least, and they can stay as like interns until they graduate. But also, if they start their own business, they can stay at the center for free for two more years.
Okay.
So that's the average time that we like incubate them.
Yep.
And
then you set them free.
Yeah, or if they want to stay at the center as a actual member, they can stay, they can pay.
Yep.
And the members, they can have up to 3 people if they have like their dedicated space.
Sure.
So they can stay there forever.
So it's like a co-working space almost.
Yes, that's the part of co-working. But we also provide like some resource for our members, like mentorship, like the interns from the FSU also support our members. So that's the type of service that we provide our members.
Okay.
That there's not just like a co-working space that you just arrive in the morning and
no, you guys are walking people through what's business.
Yes, we have network meetings. We have like what we call Bump and Connect. That's like once a month we have like an open house for like with a speaker or just to debate some themes that could like support our members and also our community. So
there's a lot of learning going on. It's not just you come in and get your coffee and then go to your office.
No,
and
also we are launching many programs this fall, like to support the local community. So
I love it.
We have like the English for Entrepreneurs that's supporting like immigrants, entrepreneurs that are launch their business here. It doesn't matter what type of business you have, you can attend this type of program. It's in partnership with the English Learning Department at the FSU. We also are launching a RAMS accelerator that are for our students, a kind of accelerator program for our students.
That's great.
Yes. We are hosting like some international students programs this summer. We will have like a Chilean group at the center, understanding how to be an entrepreneur in an emerging market, like in South America, for example. We are planning for the end of fall, beginning spring next year, to have a program for women leadership.
Great.
45 plus.
I would imagine too that it's a good pipeline, right? So you talk a lot about networking, and you know, here the two of you are sitting at the table where clearly there's still a connection to the center, and are you able to help folks that have kind of graduated from the center with, with pipeline building, workforce development? Are you guys still in touch with some of the folks that once they leave, but you're still talking to them?
Yeah, some of them, like Louis, is one of
a good example.
Yes, our like a role model of like a successful entrepreneur. As I mentioned, like I joined the center recently, and I have been like catching up how to.
Sure.
And one of the projects that I have for the center is to create like an alumni conference for our former interns and to understand what they are doing right now. So this is part of the plans that I have for the center. And now I think the Louis history is a perfect example what we want to promote at the center, like how to connect like a market opportunity, because he saw that there was like an untapped market that he could like address with a new innovative solution. So I think this is
and a technical question, but what's the cost structure for somebody that wants to get involved? Is it
like the membership?
Yeah, is it tier, or how does that work?
We have like a different type of memberships. Of course, we have like the mailbox. If you want just to have like a business address, you can install your business over there, and it's gonna cost you $100 per month.
Okay,
so but this is not our priority.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you also can have like your dedicated space, like a private room that you can host up like 3 people at this room.
Sure.
And this is gonna cost $350 per month.
Okay.
So
okay, so this is
very affordable.
Yeah.
And this is our value proposition, to be like an affordable and inclusive co-working space for
everybody.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so Louis is clearly one of your success stories.
Yes.
Right? Clearly one of your success stories. Any other success stories that kind of, stick out in your mind?
Yes, I would like to talk about one of our current entrepreneurs that she's being a success, and I know that Louis also is connected with her. That's Marina. I forgot her last name, sorry.
That's okay.
But her company's name is Chua, and she designed an energy drink based on Amazonian ingredients. And I know that you have been connecting to each other to design a cocktail with the Chua.
Yeah, her and I had a meeting a little while back, and I need to get back to her about that. But yeah, we did have a meeting a little bit over a month ago, talking about her product and seeing if there was some sort of fit that her and I could kind of work together on. She's pretty great. I love her. I love her idea as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's right now she's not a member.
Sure.
She's an entrepreneur in residence, so she supports also other entrepreneurs at the center to develop their business. So
that's great.
It's a new model that we have been designing to have like our former members supporting our current members.
Right,
so
right. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Did we have a question?
We have people saying hi.
Okay. I'm
President
sorry.
Austin's here. No,
It's just cool, right?
I'm all ears on it. Yeah.
All right. So Louis, can you take us a little bit through, like, so you're at the center, you're thinking about marketing and all these different things, and you decide that you're going to do a restaurant. What happened next?
So unfortunately, this is kind of where me and the center kind of split, which is unfortunate because I was there every single day, right? I mean, like technically, okay, cool. You do marketing work. You can work from anywhere. Well, working from home is really not something I can do.
Yeah.
I would love it, but I cannot be as focused as I would like. So I used to be there from, open to close every single day. At the time, to give you an idea, I was so involved with the center that there's a podcasting room. I don't know if it's still there. I hope it is.
Still there.
But I was the one who I looked at the former director and I said, hey, Mark, I really want a place to podcast. Because on top of doing, my marketing website design, I had a side project with some other friends that was another business that we were doing, and we were creating content. And I needed a dedicated space to podcast. And so I looked at Mark and I was like, look, if I buy all the foam and I put it up myself, can we put the room together? He goes, I'll pay for the foam.
You got to put it up.
Just put it up. And so we kind of came to this conclusion. And so there's an entire room there that I put soundproofing foam on all the walls.
Awesome.
And I was very, very much involved with the space. Now, when you're launching a restaurant, I really wish there was more of a connection that I had with the center at that moment. Unfortunately, there was kind of a break because it was a complete shift in my life.
Well, you're putting all into the restaurant.
Yeah. And so when you're going all into a restaurant, into a new space, into a it was a whole shift of mindset, a whole shift of my life at that moment.
Well, and didn't you, like, you kept working full time while you were doing the restaurant? Like, you guys were really hustling over there for a long time.
Yeah. And then, pandemic came and so many different things happened.
It's just the timing of that as well, right?
Opening a restaurant 6 months before a global pandemic is just great, perfect timing. And so but
you're still standing, my friend.
That's the beauty, right?
Yes,
just kind of keep going. But the center was something that I wish I had an ability to have maintained contact. But because of the pandemic and because of everything, and just because of the nature of the work in the restaurant, I wasn't able to. But, the things that I learned while I was there, both as an intern, both as someone starting their own business, and just from one of the biggest value props that I can give to the center is, and I hope Dr. Krim's listening because he's pretty proud. It's the whole bump and connect thing. It's the fact that, like, co-working space, it's become normalized and everyone kind of understands it, and people just kind of look at it from the perspective of, oh, cheap place to have place to work. That's not necessarily the important part. The important part is being able to go grab a coffee and all of a sudden someone who has a completely different business, a completely different mindset, a completely way more experience than I had. I'm a 22-year-old person pretending to have a business, right? Trying to, play business here, like trying to get clients and do this. And I say play business because it felt that way to me, because I'm standing around and there's real business people, right? And they're older than I am and they are super experienced. And I had the ability of being like, hey, sorry to bother you, but can I ask you a question about customer acquisition? And what do you do if someone doesn't pay your contract? And what happens if you've provided all the deliverables and, 3 months later, I still haven't gotten paid? And
well, good for you for having the confidence, though, to ask those questions and to know the questions to ask. And you were in a space where you had people that you could ask those questions. I mean, how valuable is that?
It's one of those things that I don't think I realized how valuable it was until later.
Yeah.
And I think that there was so much beauty. I mean, I got clients out of other members at the center, which, having offices so close to one another became a little bit difficult at some points, but still, I was able to work with other members of the center. I was able to get mentorship from other folks in the center. And it was so invaluable.
All right. So I have to ask, and I don't know if you're thinking the same, what is Bump and Connect?
Oh, yeah.
It's basically the idea
it's a concept, yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
From what I remembered is basically like you go to get coffee, you bump into someone, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, what do you do? Oh, this is what I do. Oh, that's so cool. How can we work together? Or what's something that I can help you out with? And what's something that you can help me out with?
Okay.
It's basically the idea of networking, but through a physical space, because a lot of times networking is like, let's go to a networking event. Here's my business card. Here's your business card.
So this is more organic.
Yeah. Yes. The whole idea is the fact that entrepreneurship and innovation comes from connection. It's from connecting ideas. It's not from creating something 100% wholly new that didn't exist before. It's a lot of it is just, it's slight innovation. And Christy, I'm so sorry, I'm speaking over you right now. But the idea, from what I remember from Dr. Krim, was like, the idea doesn't have to be 100% new, but the fact that if you can have an idea here and you meet someone over here, you might be able to share a conversation or an idea that will then spark the part that finalizes your idea, or you help finalize someone else's idea. And you basically, through these connections and creating these pathways with other people, is how people really innovate.
Right.
It's not about...
It's similar to don't reinvent the wheel, right? Like take the wheel and make it better. Yeah, something like that. That's cool.
And I imagine that the people that take advantage of these opportunities are wired like that. Problem solvers, innovators.
Putting foam up in the room.
Just let me do it. So my dad owns a company, and it brings him no better joy than to give any type of nuggets or wisdom to other people. It's like he lights up. Like, I mean, you've met my dad.
Yeah, he's great.
If you're like, well, Ken, what about this? He's like, oh, well, you could do this and this. And oh, and have you tried this? But people that are innovators, people that are problem solvers, that are trying to find their way. Like I imagine you must love doing puzzles, because like trying to figure this doesn't work out. Like right before we started, my technology wasn't working out. I'm like, all right, I've got 2 audio interfaces in my car, and if I plug this in, if I wire this, like it feels so good.
And I have 2 minutes to do it.
But it feels so good to be able to problem solve those things, and then to work with others, because we don't see things that are right in front of our faces sometimes. But then these other people with different experiences, different industries are able to say, well, have you thought about that? And you're like, oh my gosh, that's genius. It's brilliant. So being around people like that are excited about innovation only is good for
Sparks
everyone.
more innovation.
Yeah.
And just one last bit. I promise I'll let Christy talk. I feel terrible.
No, this is a great
No,
conversation.
it's okay.
Being an entrepreneur is incredibly isolating.
Oh, I was
It's
about to tell the same thing.
I remember some really tough days of just being like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
And you just feel super alone and no one really gets it. And you feel like it's different than, charting a course in a company where you're like, oh, I'll be able to, get a job here. And if I do really well, I'll get promoted and I'll be able to move up the ladder and all of these things. Entrepreneurship is an isolating, fear-inducing island of one, usually, right? Because
Sign me up.
Well, and you're putting all your eggs in the basket too, right? It's risky. You've got money on the line. Like, you're not just talking about, here's an idea. Like, you're putting your whole life behind it.
And it becomes this thing where if you do it in an isolated space, you just can continue to isolate yourself. So just being able to look around a room where you're like, I'm working here, but that person over there is probably experiencing some form of isolation themselves, it becomes a little bit easier to tackle. It becomes a little bit easier to be like, wow, this is, I'm not alone.
Sure.
I can be alone with what I'm dealing with, but I'm not alone on this entrepreneurship boat.
On this island.
Yeah.
So how many people is there room for? Like, if I signed up tomorrow and I'm a member, I come in, how many people do I have access to? Are there
Currently, in terms of members, company members at the center, we have 13 members.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes. When I joined the center in January, we had 2 members.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Obrigada.
That's huge.
So, I mentioned, like, I'm reinstalling the center. So that's my first mission and my first goal. It was like to reinvite former members and to attract new members to the center. And I love this idea, Lou, that that's what I was to talk about, like a bump and connect. That's the root of the problem is like to be an entrepreneur is a isolated and a lonely journey.
Alone,
Yeah. So if you don't know, I know many innovators that they decide to run their own business by themselves and they become inventors. They don't become innovators because they are not able to connect the market, connect the needs, connect the problems that they want to solve. And then they are like just proud of the product that they are creating, but they are not like correlating with the local needs, with the value network that they can access. So when we see like this, not just mentorship connections, but also like how to create value networks. When we see like this opportunity to connect like your restaurant to Schwa, it's like a value network that we are creating with among our members. So that's one of the biggest piece when we talk about our center.
And I would imagine, too, that people don't know all the resources that are available to them either, right? I mean, we come across that all the time where a company will call, I'm looking for XYZ. Well, hey, did you know that there's this perfect program out there that's basically made for you and what you're looking for? And they have no idea because you don't know what you don't know.
And you're so busy trying to make it.
To start your business,
I work in video production, live streaming, and, marketing and stuff like that. And you're so trying to stay on top of all of your responsibilities.
Well, in today's problem, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then like for you have your staff, you have your orders, you have your invoicing, there's so much. And so, you need help. I mean, I think we've all run across people that are leading some type of program or seminar or something. And we have this instinct to say, oh, well, why don't you just ask for help? Like, why don't you just delegate? I'm like, oh my God, tell me to delegate one more time. It is very difficult. It's a difficult skill to be able to zoom out and figure out, let me pause real quick and see what other opportunities.
Right.
So this is like answering those without thinking and people even anticipating, hey, you're a female-owned business. Did you know that there are these grant opportunities, or did you know that you could connect with this person who's already gone down that road?
Right.
I mean, like, where was this like 12 years ago when I started on my journey? I'm upset.
Here you are.
No.
All right, believe it or not, we're bumping up against time. This happens to us every time.
And we do have a couple comments before we go.
Oh, let's do it. I was going to give you guys, just so I prep you, any last things you want people to know about the center. And then I do want to talk a little bit about your food because we need to give you a minute to plug your amazing restaurant. But what are our questions we've got?
So we do have Counselor Dumas has joined us. Hello, Christian.
Hello.
He says, opening and running a business is no small feat. I went to Labaredas a few weeks ago and I cannot wait to come back. Kudos to you, Louis.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We also have Stas Burden joining us from LinkedIn. Absolutely loving the episode at MEDC. All the guests, more of this. Thank you so much for joining us. And we did have one comment from our most faithful viewer,
President Austin.
We love you so much. Morning Meredith and Jill Labaredas is awesome. Highly recommend The Dictator for an adult beverage. Well done. Presentation is outstanding.
Phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Phenomenal. So in our office, we like to talk a lot about part of your success is the level of service that you get when you walk into Labaredas. So I know what makes you guys unique, but what makes you unique? What can people expect when they come to your restaurant?
Well, I want to really touch upon something that Christy said earlier. It's the fact that it doesn't seem innovative, and to me, I didn't really grasp how innovative it was. But the truth is that innovation, it's not about, like you said as well, Meredith, it's not about reinventing the wheel, right? And so one of the first things I do anytime I hire anyone, I explain to them point blank, we don't sell food. We don't sell drinks. We don't do any of that. Our product as a restaurant, we sell an experience. So what I explain to people is that what people pay for is every single interaction that they will have from the moment they drive into our parking lot to the moment that they leave. And that means, how clean the entrance is, how clean the table was, were they greeted with a smile when they walked in? Is the lighting good? Is the music good? Is it clean? Does it smell nice? Is it a good temperature?
Yeah.
Is the food good? Is the service good? Is the drinks good? That stuff is important, but it's only a small part of the whole puzzle. And
that's really important. It is but that is why it's such a great experience when you go into your restaurant.
Thank you. Yeah. And I also say that, trying to create, our goal is to be the best restaurant, point blank, like full stop. Period. Not best Brazilian restaurant, not, good foreign restaurant. No. We want to be best restaurant, full stop. And so because we serve a type of food that is very foreign to a lot of people, one of the things that is kind of a bit of a something that needs to be overcome mentally for a lot of folks is that for us in the Brazilian community, the food that we serve at the restaurant, it's very, very good in my opinion, but it's also it can seem somewhat like basic to a degree. It's rice, beans, and meat, and for us Brazilians, we eat that every day. Right. But what I always try to explain to my staff is that for someone who's not a part of our community, our food is as foreign as Indian cuisine, as Mandarin cuisine, as Ethiopian cuisine. It's very different. It's new. It can be scary. People are like, I don't understand these words. Chicken hearts on a menu. What do you mean? You know what I mean?
They're so good.
And
but you're absolutely right.
Yes,
it's intimidating.
It is intimidating, and it's you walk into a space, and if people don't make you feel welcome, you're gonna walk right out.
Yeah.
And so I guess the part of the innovation that comes is to make people feel welcome, right? And I think that as basic as that sounds, I think that's kind of the heart of it, is making sure that anybody who walks into the restaurant, whether you're Brazilian, whether you're American, whether you're from anywhere from this planet, you just feel welcome.
Right.
You feel like you matter and people care about your experience. And that's been the great focus, is that I wanted to make sure that anybody who walks into the space felt like they can participate, because there's nothing better than food and drinks, in my opinion, right? Like you sit down with someone and being able to share a meal, like that to me is a sacred moment. Like that's something that fills me with great joy. It's just being able to share a meal. And I think that in a world where everybody's becoming so isolated and so focused on only what they want and only following what they want on social media, it's easy to become super isolated. I think that restaurants are one of the last few places that I hope will never go away, where you're actually able to sit next to someone at a bar, for example, and you may not know them, you may not know anything about them, but you can come from a completely different part of the world and be able to just look over and be like, hey, that's really cool. What are you drinking? And all of a sudden you have this connection to someone that you never had the ability to. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the beauty behind restaurants. And that's what we want to do.
Knocking it out of the park over there. I mean, you guys have phenomenal outdoor dining. Your restaurant, the interior, it's really cool. It's new. It's unique. It's awesome. You have great food. Again, I will say great cocktails. Everything over there. You guys are doing a really great job.
Have you been there?
I love Labaredas.
Have you tried the cocktails?
I have tried the cocktails. They're really good.
I gotta say, really as a former, I used to be an EL teacher, so that's teaching English as a second language, and accessibility is huge. So for my students that were coming in as level 1 English learners, you want to make instructions accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that they know exactly where they need to go and who to talk to when they're in XYZ situation. And so in a restaurant, I think what often happens as a miss is that, like, yes, we want as native English speakers, or native born Marlborough, Massachusettsonians. That's probably the word.
That's
actually,
I like that word.
That's the word. Yeah.
Thank you. But you want to experience and try authentic food that is different than what you grew up with. I mean, is there anything better than feijoada? Like, acho que não, right?
No, I don't think so.
And so, like, even me, though, learning Portuguese for a number of years, I love learning Portuguese. I love Brazilian food. There is still a slight intimidation of going to a new restaurant, Brazilian, for example, if there is no, sorry, I'm geeking out a little bit. In the language world, we call it I+1. So here's where your language skills are now. You want to be teaching them one level above so that it's challenging, but it's accessible. And so what I'm saying is the miss on a lot of different places is that it's like I+20 plus 100. And so there's too much intimidation. So even me, with the Portuguese skills that I have, I still get a little worried about, like, saying things right, ordering things right, not knowing what to order if it's too much of a gap. So I think what you provide also is accessibility for anyone. So
Right.
it's the culture, it's the friendliness, but it that one thing is huge for people, because they'll try things that they didn't try before, as long as it's not too much of a risk, So
And I think the beauty, anytime
really
you go
cool.
into Labaredas, you're always there, right? Like, I've never
Pretty
gone in
much.
there and you're not there, which for anybody that's watching, if you go in and you are feeling that way, just look for Louis, because he's great at being able to point you in the right direction. So,
Yeah.
All right, Christy, any final words? What, in 30
No.
seconds or less, what do people need to know about the center?
Yeah, so I think that it was the perfect, like, advertise for the center. So
Yeah.
we're seeing, like, a success case here. And I'm glad to be here. And please reach us out if you want to join the center, or if you want to support our programs, because we are also, like, we have many ideas, many programs to
Sure.
launch, but we need, like, the community support as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And we want to provide more resource to our local community of immigrants or local
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so if
here.
you want to be the next Louis, you can just contact Christy
Yes.
and we're going to make it
So
happen.
it's innovation@framingham.edu.
Yes,
right.
perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And we'll make sure that if you're watching this on any of our platforms, that we'll also include, contact information, and it's here up on the screen as well on your website here.
Perfect.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank you both for being here. This was a lot of fun.
thank
And to
you.
any of our viewers that are watching, if you're hungry, we love to go out to lunch. We will meet you at Labaredas anytime. We can go check
Absolutely.
out the center. Thank you
Yeah.
both so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
My
And
pleasure.
everybody have a wonderful, I usually say Wednesday. We're going to have a wonderful Thursday.
Now, Meredith, just before we go, are we streaming next month? Or
We are not streaming next month. We are taking July off. We hope everybody has a wonderful holiday.
Yes.
We'll be back in August.
Yeah.
So don't miss me too much, Jill.
Meredith, I'll be here. I'll still be here. Let's hang out. You know what? Let's meet at Labaredas.
Perfect. Done.
Perfect.
Done. Awesome.
right.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Bye,
watching.
bye.